This show is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice. The content on this show is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition they have, and they should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such condition.
This is Rooted in Healing with Dr. Beth Claxton, exploring the science of functional medicine and the power of healing from within. Breathe in. Breathe out. And now your host, Dr. Beth Claxton.
Welcome to another episode of Rooted in Healing. I'm Dr. Beth Claxton. This episode is one that's really near and dear to my heart, and I wanted to start off by giving you a little bit of history, and it's going to be personal history. I hope it's not too much information, but it's what happened with me and how I found our guest for today. So in around 2018, probably a little bit earlier than that, I was shifting out of the Western medicine world, creating my own practice. I was not on any hormone replacement therapy. It felt really confusing. It was scary. There was a lot of liability. And yet I could see the benefits. I could see women who had taken hormone replacement therapy in my practice and women who had not. And I myself, I knew I was starting this menopausal transition. I had horrible night sweats. My stamina was not good. I had joint pain, fatigue, brain fog, insomnia. I was co-parenting with a divorce, teens. I had depression, and life was pretty hard. And then I came down with COVID-19 early in the pandemic before lockdown even happened. So then I had long COVID on top of everything else. And at some point along the way, I did start taking an estrogen patch and some progesterone pills, some capsules, and felt a little bit better, but still wasn't sure at all what I was doing. And a turn of events, how the universe brings you these gifts. One thing led to another, that led to another, that led to another. And I met Dr. David Rosensweet. And before I met him, I was thinking I am not going to offer hormone replacement in my office or in my private practice because there's just too much controversy going on, and I don't really want to get involved in it. It seems like there are legal problems, everybody's saying something different, and then Dr. Rosensweet arrived in my life. And he has a method that taught me so much. He has this life experience of working with women, trial and error, with very pure compounded hormones. And we started talking, and he said, I really think that this could help you. And I was so scared. And I said, well, okay, I only want to try the estrogen and progesterone. So I tried estrogen and progesterone, and yeah, I felt better. And then we met again, and he said, I really think that testosterone is what you need. It's gonna really support you where you need it. And I was hesitant, honestly, but once I surrendered to the fact that I trusted his advice, I got the testosterone and completely forgot that I had ever been hesitant. So I started using the testosterone and sent Dr. Rosensweet an email 1 to 2 weeks later that said, I don't know where I've been, but I'm back. And I don't know how long it had been since I had felt that good, since my brain had been clear, since I had felt strong, that I woke up in the morning feel like I could really take on the day. And I tell patients this every day. It felt like someone had come up and put their hands on my back. So thinking about going through so many years of my life feeling unsupported and now feeling supported was very eye-opening to me. I don't want anyone to go through life feeling unsupported. And I wanted women to know that I could help them, give them this treatment, follow them closely, answer their questions, quell their fears, and help them feel supported at this time in life that is so topsy-turvy for women, and what was happening in the world with lockdown and all the questions and hesitations about hormone replacement that was now coming back into vogue very, very slowly. And I've been working closely with Dr. Rosensweet now for years, and I feel very well informed and very confident. And like we talk about in this interview, we help women get their life back. And I wanted to bring this information to all of you. So stick around. Dr. Rosensweet is on his way, and we'll be right back after this commercial break. Thanks again
For more information on Dr. Beth Claxton, visit bethclaxtonmd.com. And now, more Rooted in Healing with Dr. Beth Claxton.
Welcome back. It's nice to have you returning to meet with David Rosensweet, who is my mentor and friend. Dr. Rosensweet graduated from the University of Michigan Medical School in 1968. And since 1971, he's been in private medical practice with offices in Florida, New Mexico, California, and Colorado. Early in his career, Dr. Rosensweet trained the first nurse practitioners in the United States and was in charge of health promotions for the state of New Mexico. He was recently named one of the biggest names in anti-aging medicine by the Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, otherwise known as A4M. He is a member of the College for Advancement in Medicine, American College for Advancement in Medicine, and the Age Management Medicine Group, and so many more. He's the author of books, Menopause and Natural Hormones, Happy Healthy Hormones, and How to Thrive in Menopause. He is the founder and co-chair of the Coalition to Protect Compounded Bioidentical Hormones. He's organizer of a national summit committee on the treatment of women in menopause with bioidentical hormones. He's a principal investigator on several scientific studies about female hormones. And he's the founder of the Menopause Method and the Institute for Bioidentical Medicine, where he has trained medical professionals, including myself, to master compounded bioidentical hormone replenishment using the most advanced and modern tools. His protocol has been used to treat more than 12,000 women. Welcome, Dr. R, as we call him affectionately.
Hi, Beth. So good to be with you always, Beth.
Oh, thank you. I'm really happy to have you here because I know that this topic is taboo in some circles. It's really embraced in some circles. And I wanted to clear the air for all of our listeners around what is happening now. Because as we talk about in our weekly mastermind grand rounds meetings, it's the Wild West in hormone replacement therapy right now.
Yeah, that's a great place to start because unlike any other field in medicine that I'm aware of, treating women in menopause received such an obstacle in the early 2000s from the false reporting of a study that scared women and healthcare providers all over the earth. And while so many other medical specialties were developing and maturing and getting solid standards of care and board certification, nothing like that was happening in the world of menopause because people were frightened away from it.
Right.
I was deeply involved with it when that study came out, And I saw the flaws in the study, and I was using compounded bioidenticals, so I just moved on because I saw the false information. And, yeah, people got scared. And I think it's a great place to start, to clarify things with me, perhaps if you want, for me to actually clarify what risk is involved or not involved. Shall I begin there?
Yeah, I'd like to also just let our listeners know where I was when all of that was happening. I remember when that study was underway, I was in residency, and I could see the benefits of hormone replacement therapy, and I had so many questions about it. And I remember actually, I think I called one of the investigators, and they called me back, and they said, we're just going to have to wait. And I was waiting and waiting and waiting for more information about how to use hormone replacement therapy, and then it just stopped. So I've used it in and out, back and forth. And I remember during that time, women would come into my office and put their fist down on the desk and say, give me my hormones or I'm going to go crazy. And I would think, wow, there really is something to this. But I have no guidance. All I know is don't do it or do the smallest amount for the shortest amount of time. And I was actually honestly nervous about using hormone replacement until I met you. And I feel so informed now. And yes, please go on.
And you were in gynecology residency.
Exactly.
You were right there on the front line.
I was an OBGYN. Yes.
Yeah. Here's the science on risk. And it begins with, hey, we're humans. We're all at risk for thousands of diagnoses and hundreds of cancers. Given that we're at risk, women who are treated with hormones are at less risk for breast cancer, heart attack, and stroke than women who go untreated. And to take it one step further, women who have had breast cancer and had that breast cancer properly treated, they happen to have an increased risk of recurrence over a woman developing brand new breast cancer. However, if they're treated with hormones after being properly treated for the breast cancer, they're at less risk of recurrence. That's the science. It's really well developed. People could get a free PDF copy of my book. In Chapter 3, we cover it. There's experts in the field who have written thoroughly about it. And this knowledge is very slow to creep in because the people who published the original study in 2002 actually retracted that study in 2017, but hardly anyone has heard of the retraction. But the science is very clear, and for those who want more information, we can lead you to resources. That's the science. Be treated with hormones, less risk for breast cancer, heart attack, and stroke.
Yeah, it's great science, and even having women come in whose mothers had breast cancer and really letting them know that this will protect them. And people with genetic risk, with the BRCA1, BRCA2 gene, there is evidence showing that this is protective against developing breast cancer when they take hormone replenishment and menopause.
Right on, yeah.
Yep. So is there, I'm wondering, how should a woman be treated? What a lot of primary care doctors and nurse practitioners and people that are willing to prescribe hormones but are on the edge say maybe a woman should be treated with the lowest dose for the shortest amount of time.
Yes, a terrible myth.
Yes.
Which has no scientific backing whatsoever. And it came out of some kind of remedy for the exact kind of woman who came into your office and pounded her fist and said, I got to have these hormones.
Right.
So someone invented, well, maybe if you just take the smallest amount for the shortest period of time, maybe that's okay. Not based on any science whatsoever. So we do not believe in that at all. We want to take the optimal, the right amount for each individual woman And how long? Well, for me, I'm a man. I'm taking hormones. I face a similar situation. My last day of taking hormones will be my last day of breathing on this planet. I will never stop taking them, and we recommend that to every woman because the tremendous benefits of hormones.
Yes, so let's open up to what are the benefits. Why would a woman want to start taking hormones, and when should she start taking hormones? Should she wait till she has symptoms, or should she wait till some of these conditions come up? So let's start with the conditions that hormone replacement treats or prevents.
Yes, great question. These hormones, the ones coming out of the ovary, for example, there's 4 of them, and these are amongst the most powerful biochemicals and consequential biochemicals in our body. And, people tend to associate ovarian hormones with female functioning, of course they do relate deeply to that, but they function, there's receptor sites in almost every cell in the body, and thus we're talking about the healthy function of the brain, of the arteries, of the immune system, of the vagina and pelvis and bladder, of bones, of muscles. So when you look over the long run, as all of us physicians have an opportunity to see, because we can treat elderly patients, what gets elderly patients in the most challenging situations is when they lose their muscle. That's what gets most women who are in nursing homes in there, or when they lose the ability to think and speak clearly, cognition. And these are 100%, well, these are, for most of these women, the reason they lost the muscle, they lost the bone, they lost the ability to think, for most, not all, is because of the loss of these ovarian hormones. So for the long haul, which we all care about, a woman who's 90, her life means as much to her as it does to a woman in 40, and she wants to stay at home. In order to keep walking and thinking, you're going to need these hormones. When's the best time to start? Well, my favorite way to put it is whenever you think about it. So if you think about it at an elderly age, start then. The optimal time to start is when the hormones start really declining. Well, they start declining right at their peak. A woman's maximum output of ovarian hormones is when she's 20, plus or minus a couple of years. But she usually doesn't notice or feel or experience the losses until maybe the late 30s, early 40s, though there are some women who have premature menopause that experience it early. But as we start getting irregular periods or funny symptoms that you never had, heavier periods, painful periods, much like in the very beginning, there's hormonal declines and imbalances going on. And, oh my gosh, nothing is better than starting to learn about and doing the work that you need to do when you start, when you're in the perimenopause, when you're in the early stages of symptomatic hormone decline. And what do you need to do as a woman? You need to find a healthcare provider who's really skilled at hormones. That's your job. That's your only job. I used to love to fix my own cars, and I had consequences of that. I once rebuilt an engine, and it was so much fun, and I got it back together, and it drove 7,000 miles before it froze. And I learned my lesson. I want to be having my car worked on by someone who's worked on 1,000 of them. And that's true for medicine. Oh, my goodness. That's for sure. So a woman's only real job is to go shopping and find a healthcare provider who's really taken the time and the effort and has the passion for treating women in menopause with compounded bioidentical hormones. They're doing the best work. That's the only job you have. And if you can pick up on it when you're in your mid-30s or late 30s, all the more power to you. It doesn't mean you're not going to do fine if you pick up on it in your 40s or 50s. Like I say, whenever you think about it, that's the time to go out seeking care.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard for people to find providers. Someone told me recently that their provider told them, well, we wouldn't want to do anything drastic like start hormones, so why don't you start taking these antidepressants?
Yeah, and shopping is an interesting art.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're bringing up another point here. It's helpful to know what are you shopping for.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to shop, let's say, the very best thing is to talk to your network of women. Invariably, somewhere in that network, there's a woman who's done the heavy lifting for you and has gone shopping, is on hormones, and has found a provider they really like. That's a great place to start.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's national organizations like ourselves. We've trained providers, and we refer to the trained providers all the time. And you could list connection points for us. Oh, my God, if you're in Sedona, go to Beth. What an opportunity. Flagstaff, Phoenix, telemedicine. Yeah. I know Beth really well, and I'm going to give you a wonderful recommendation. You couldn't do better.
Thank you.
Than right there if you're in Arizona. My goodness. And then there's another way to do it, too, is there's 7,500 compounding pharmacies in the United States. And these are the pharmacists that are doing the individualized, best quality hormones. And they're working with the doctors and nurse practitioners who have done some training, because you have to know something to be able to get so specific in your prescriptions to individualize for an individual woman. And what I recommend is you actually walk into your local compounding pharmacy. Don't try and do it by phone. Mm-hmm. These pharmacists are busy. Mm-hmm. But if they see you come in, they'll be delighted to talk to you and ask them this question. You're receiving a lot of prescriptions for hormones. Who's your favorite doctor or nurse practitioner that you're filling prescriptions for? And get a list. And these pharmacists, they have a real handle on who knows what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Because they're getting the prescriptions, and they can tell when someone's a novice or someone isn't well trained, and all this training is voluntary. Any provider that's turning to treating women with hormones, they've had to do some out of medical school, out of residency training. They've had to seek out training programs because, again, the whole field got so stunted in the early 2000s that it's not dealt with like neurology or orthopedic surgery or gynecology is. Mm-hmm. So go to those compounding pharmacies and ask them. Or if you go online, try and identify someone who's specializing in it. Look at their website. If they're doing 1,000 things, they have many offerings and they're covering a lot of bases, they could be good, but these are not my favorites. One of my favorites are saying, I specialize in treating women in menopause with compounded bioidentical hormones.
Right. So while we're on the topic of compounding, can you speak a little bit to the pharmaceutical grade preparations and why we would want to use something compounded over just a generic patch or a generic tube of estrase cream that, the insurance will cover? So why would I want to pay for compounded hormones?
Well, up until the 80s, mm-hmm. and the pharmaceutical industry were the main providers of hormones for women. And the main product being used was Premarin or Prempro. Mm-hmm. And these were ovarian hormones derived from the urine of horses. And you know what? They worked. Mm-hmm. And they were the most profitable and popular drugs of all time up until the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. However, in the 1980s, some really forward-thinking pharmacists and medical doctors started wanting to do better. Mm-hmm. And they knew that molecularly pure, molecule identical to what was being produced in the ovaries of women, mm-hmm. not horses, was available. Mm-hmm. They knew that they could find it, and sure enough, it was early pharmacists and early medical doctors that reached out and found the pure stuff. And that's why it's called bioidentical. It's the same molecular structure as what comes out of the ovary, whereas Premarin, half of the estrogens that are in Premarin, for example, have never been seen by the human female. No, we want the same molecule. So that was a big improvement. And because they could get the raw hormones, doctors were able to individualize to each individual woman her balance, her needs, because women vary considerably, and so do men, is how much each woman needs, what balance of the 4 hormones she has, how sensitive she is to anything you give her, and the very safest way, the optimal way to deliver most of these hormones is in a skin, is applying them to your skin. It's called topical. Mm-hmm. Definitely safer than taking an estrogen orally, for example.
And why is that? Why is that? Yeah.
Well, when you take a hormone by mouth, it doesn't go right into the bloodstream. Mm-hmm. It goes from the stomach and small intestine right to the liver. Mm-hmm. And 80 to 90% of it is metabolized or fully chemically processed right away. Only 5 to 10% of it makes it through to the body right away. Mm-hmm. So you have to administer these larger doses, and this is called first pass through the liver. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that the metabolic byproducts of orally taken estrogen provoke the liver to produce pro-inflammatory and pro-coagulation metabolites.
Right.
Proteins, really. And so that's why with the birth control pill, for example, although it was not common, these are taken by mouth, there was a certain percentage of women, small as it was, who actually, from the procoagulation, actually developed blood clots in their legs and some even in their lungs.
Right.
So there's no need to take an estrogen by mouth. Mm-hmm. In fact, there's strong reasons, to put it on the skin, where it works beautifully. Mm-hmm. And these compounding pharmacies have come up with all kinds of ways to deliver it to the skin. And so that became the gold standard. And the most health-motivated, the most knowledgeable of women patients, they found their way to the physicians and nurse practitioners who were working with these compounding pharmacies and providing bioidentical hormones. Mm-hmm. Ever since the 1980s. Well, the pharmaceutical industry started noticing that they were losing customers. They were losing market share, and all that multiplied by plenty when that study came out, that false study came out in the early 2000s. And when they studied this in 2016, they saw that in 2002, there was 18 million American women on hormones in menopause. And then it dropped to below 2 million right away when everybody got scared. And by 2016, it recovered to about 6 million women, not 18 anymore, 6 million women. And what they discovered in a study is that over half of them were on compounded bioidentical hormones. Mm. And that was heavily noticed by the pharmaceutical industry, who already knew this, and they were developing these products. But you can't manufacture a product that has as much variability as hormone dosages and types and make a profit on it, because you'd have to manufacture hundreds of different variations or tens of different variations. So what they actually offer is narrow dosage forms, and they're at the beginning. They're about 20 to 30 years behind. They put it up in creams and gels. Well, these gels and creams are also strong solvents. Mm-hmm. So when a woman is applying to her skin these pharmaceutically manufactured hormones, most of what they're getting are these strong solvents. And still compounding pharmacists use strong solvents as well, although there is an alternative. You know it really well.
Mm-hmm.
And patches, they're only supplying one of the estrogens. They're not supplying how nature did it.
Mm-hmm.
There's problems with the patches. Pellets, there's mega problems with the pellets. I don't necessarily want to go into that unless you want to ask about it. So some of the stuff that's offered by the major pharmaceutical companies, in my opinion, are 20, 30 years behind what is best medicine. What we're interested in, and more than what we're interested in, what women are interested in, is what's best medicine, what's the safest, what's the most effective, what honors my own individual needs and balance. That is attainable only through compounding pharmacists, because things can be so individualized, and you can even get these topical hormones in an organic oil base, as you know well.
Mm-hmm.
So no longer having to deal with the solvents. So there's grades of excellence, just like in radios or cookware or restaurants.
Yeah.
There's grades of excellence. Almost any hormones done with some kind of rationale does some good.
Right.
I saw women on Premarin. They had some good things happening.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing much better than their compatriots. So it really matters how excellent you want to get. And as health is at stake here, almost every one of us is going to want to get the very best providers, the ones who know the most, and the very best hormones.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I want to take a moment just to talk about solvents. I don't know if people understand. Solvents are chemicals, and they're toxic. And when we put them on our skin, they're absorbed into the skin, into the body, and they have to be metabolized. And as a woman in menopause or even perimenopause, we've been going through a lifetime of living in a world that has a lot of toxins in the skin, the things that we put on our skin, the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, and adding another burden to the body when we're trying to make that transition and do things that are supporting us is almost adding fuel to the fire. Would you agree?
Oh, my goodness. It's such an invisible thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you and I know that beginning in the 1980s, what some of the more forward-thinking scientists and medically oriented people were discovering is, my goodness, the herbicides, the pesticides, the household chemicals, like you said, the things that are being applied to the body in cosmetics, perfumes. These chemicals hurt human beings. It's not like swallowing a bottle of arsenic. No, that'll knock you off really quickly. But these chemicals, they do injury to us.
Mm-hmm.
So almost any medical-oriented person who wants to help people heal sooner or later runs into a process called detoxification, in which they teach their patients how to identify and remove every toxin from their house that they possibly can. All the dryer stuff and the washer stuff and all the cosmetics and perfumes, because we want to stop the exposure. And then they also teach people how to help remove from their own body the toxins they've already absorbed. And where do a lot of these toxins impact us? In the hormone receptor sites.
Oh, right, exactly.
Of all things that they could injure us, that's one of the main places they injure us. And it's caused a lot of problems in society. So, gosh, Beth, I'm so with you. And, of course, you're deeply schooled in this.
Yeah.
We just want to eliminate our exposure to toxins and eliminate the toxins that are already in our body. It's a big deal.
And one of the reasons that I decided to start doing hormone replacement is because what you were teaching and what you offer is an organic oil base that has the hormones in it. So It's very, very clean and very safe. So I wanted to put that out there for listeners. And
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that, Arizona. You have one of the most knowledgeable and careful and health-conscious providers in the United States, right there in Sedona, or on your video screen via telemedicine.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you too. So I get a lot of women coming in that want to know, like, are you going to test my levels first? So is it necessary to test a woman's hormone levels first before starting them?
Absolutely not. It can be done. It's a waste of money. That's the problem.
Agreed.
And when I started out in practice, I did want to test a woman when she came to the first visit. It was such a traditional way of operating. And what did I learn? Well, I had already learned it from talking to her. She was telling me, for example, I no longer have periods. What does that tell me about her ovarian hormone levels? They're way, way, way low. So the women I tested, and I had access to the gold standard of testing, 24-hour urine hormone analysis, I ran this a few times, saw the super low hormones, and I got to say to my patient, your hormone levels are super low. I already knew that because they had lost they weren't menstruating anymore, and they got to pay about $300 at the time for the privilege of me telling them that their hormone levels were low. So you never test a woman in early menopause. It's just a waste of money. The perimenopause is even more perilous.
Right.
Because, once a woman starts having lower hormone levels enough for her brain to detect that, we got a droppage in our estrogen level, for example, the brain has some mechanisms to try and stimulate the ovary back into action. And it stimulates, but the stimulus doesn't work very long because the ovary is actually losing its ability to produce these hormones. But a woman in perimenopause has got these very erratic levels. So if you test her on the wrong day, and this is how I learned this, I had a woman come to me who had hot flashes in the middle of the night, every night, couldn't sleep. What did I know for certain? Her estrogen was really low overall. But she was still in the perimenopause when this ping-pong back and forth, up and down, erratic hormone levels was taking place. So I did a sophisticated 24-hour urine hormone test on her, caught her on the wrong day, a day when she had gotten stimulation from her pituitary gland. She had high estrogen levels on her hormone report, yet she was having hot flashes over every day. And I said to her, well, I do want to treat you with estrogen. And she looked at me like, what kind of crazy doctor are you? Can't you see that my estrogen levels are high? Well, they were only high on that day. Most of the days they were low. So you never, our counsel is don't ever test a woman in the perimenopause for hormone levels.
Right.
You don't need to, and you could get false information that would really interfere with the proper medical steps.
Right. I tell patients it's a fool's errand to try to measure hormones on a perimenopausal woman, because what's true in the morning is different in the afternoon and in the evening and day to day, week to week, month to month. You have no idea what's going on if you try to go by the measurements.
And of course, we believe that we test 100% of our women that we're treating.
Right.
And what we do is we wait till the woman says, oh my goodness, my symptoms have disappeared and I feel like myself again. And, that's a variable amount of time. Sometimes it takes 2 months, 3 months, 5 months for the body to readjust to the hormones that they're receiving and for them to feel great and stabilize. We test 100% of the women by the gold standard testing method, 24-hour urine hormone testing, when they say that. Because it turns out that you can alleviate symptoms in a woman, but 50% of them still will not have enough estrogen to protect their vagina and their bones over the long haul, and 25% of them will have just too much estrogen that puts them at risk for breast glandular cell proliferation, stimulation. We don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
So we do test 100% to make sure they're within the laboratory ranges that we've carefully defined as too much or too little, but we wait.
Right.
Now, we do get some initial blood tests. There are some other blood tests that really are relevant, thyroid stuff, basic blood stuff, something called sex hormone binding globulin. We do want to know that, but we don't test the hormones.
Right. Right. And you have worked so hard in your 35-year career defining these normal values with some of the groundbreaking people in hormone replacement so that the levels that we compare them to are well-known levels. They're not reference ranges of the lab, which when anyone gets a test done at LabCorp or Sonora or Quest Labs, there's a reference range which varies widely and often doesn't have anything to do with what's healthy and normal. It has to do with the range of what the values of all the patients that they see fall. So the values that you and I use on the hormone testing are well-defined normal ranges and healthy ranges.
Yeah, it was a great privilege to be part of, actually to do this study where we interviewed 600 nursing students, and we had very strict criteria about who we could include in their study. They had to be healthy, they had to be regularly menstruating, they had to have a normal body weight, they had to never have used hormonal birth control and never have been pregnant. A really healthy cohort. Of that 600, 100 of the women were regularly menstruating. Oh, my God. Think about that for a moment.
Yeah.
And then we wound up with 24 women that we could prove by testing they actually ovulated. That means they were having major ovary activity. And we were able to set up reference ranges based on these normal, healthy, young, absolutely ovulating women. And so the laboratory that you use, Beth, that we use, that's their reference ranges. We're not trying to replicate youthful levels, but we need some kind of framework to know how to then determine what the menopause levels are. And we've done that too. We've gone into the medical literature and discovered what's too much and what's too little. So the actual test reports that we receive, that's clearly defined. Like if you've got too much estrogen, we know what too much is, and we know what too little is. And again, the great mystery is a woman could feel much better, be symptom-free, but 50% of those women actually won't have enough to protect their vagina and their bones, minimal. That's over the long haul. That's what we're really looking for. We're looking for a lifetime of right levels to maintain the vagina, the bones, the skin, the arteries, the brain, the immune system, because that's what these hormones are doing.
Right. And I think we're getting close to time. I wanted to bring home an important point that it doesn't seem was really heavily discussed in our time together, and that is the number one killer of women is heart disease, and hormone replacement does protect against that if it's started optimally at the time of menopause, of when the period is stopping. So what can you add to that?
You said it. I mean, I can give you examples. Like in medicine, every so often you hear this strange statement was, gosh, he was 40 years old and he never was sick a day in his life, and he had a heart attack on the tennis courts out of the blue. You hear that occasionally about young men. You never hear it about young women because young women have a much lower incidence of heart attack because of the protection that the rich amount of estrogen provides to a woman's coronary arteries, and a man's, by the way. But the incidence of heart attack equalizes by the age of 60. So by 60, women are having heart attacks at the same rate men are. And the difference is estrogen. And yeah, the protection against heart attack and stroke is so critical part of replenishing hormones. Couldn't be more important.
And I'd say it's, in my experience and what I've noticed and the gestalt that I've learned is the good that we can do with protecting against heart disease far outweighs any imagined risk of the breast cancer scare.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the brain. There are so many women who have cognitive decline all the way to dementia.
Right.
And there are many causes of dementia. Yes, there are. But in the world of women, the most significant cause is low estrogen. And we hear this all the time. We hear a woman in the perimenopausal or menopause saying, God, I'm not thinking clearly. God, I've got a high-functioning job here, and I'm not able to remember things. And then we put them on hormones, and they go, I'm back.
Yeah.
My mind is flying again like it used to. This is such a big deal because when you look at nursing homes, that's another major cause of women being there, is cognitive decline or dementia. So the prevention of that is right up there with cardiovascular risk prevention.
Right. And this interview has been primarily about women, and I'm just going to ask, I think we could have another conversation. What matters for men?
Same thing, same corollaries. You talk to a man who's 50 years old and losing his erection. And this was unheard of until Viagra came on the market. And all of a sudden, it became one of the most popular drugs of all time for men. And it revealed that men were going through andropause, that we were losing our testosterone, we were losing our muscle, we were losing our ability to think clearly, we were losing our arterial protection because our estrogen that we men need that protects the arteries, among other things, it was diminishing because our testosterone was diminishing. So, men and women, we face the same thing. We don't want to lose these most important biochemicals, the most powerful biochemicals in our body. And the consequences of men getting into low testosterone, well, you talk to any man who's having erectile difficulties and what that leads to for them and their own self-esteem and in their relationships. So it's a big deal. The same thing, we could have spent a half hour talking about what happens to men. And, of course, we pay attention to that in the work that we do. We treat both men and women.
Right. Thank you so much for your time. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Not necessarily. I've had fun because I like to hang out with you. So, it's fun.
It's always fun.
Something we care about so deeply, and I think the main reason we care about it so much is we went into medicine because we love medicine, but we see these results. We see women and men who've been stopped in their tracks by the loss of these powerful hormones, and right in the time when they're maturing into what should be the happiest time of our lives, because we're at our peak of wisdom in midlife, and then we fall off of a horse. And we've watched the dramatic results in so many patients that we replenish the hormones, they recover. They're so deeply grateful because they're back in their life full bore, with vigor, vitality, with sexuality. You want to have sexual relationships when you're in your 80s and 90s? There's people out there having it, doing it. We know them.
Yep, it's completely possible.
One of them.
Awesome, congratulations.
And it's... Thank you. And it's so rewarding to do this work.
Yeah, it really makes my heart explode every time I realize that basically someone has their life back.
Yeah, we went into medicine for a reason. And it turned out the reason was when a woman or man says, "Oh, my God, I'm myself again." It feels so great to be back in my life and my body. It's very rewarding.
Yes, agreed. Thank you again. And people can reach you at, let's see.
Well,
what's the best place?
They should reach you. I mean, that's the best thing.
Yes, BethClaxtonMD.com. BethClaxtonMD.com. And then if they want to find other practitioners in other parts of the United States, is menopause
Bright.live.
Bright.live.
BRITE.live. That's an unusual web address, but Bright.live will get you there.
And there's some great interviews there as well, right?
There is. There's all kinds of resources, including a free PDF copy of our book for women, on what we think is important for women to know about menopause.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you again.
You're welcome, Beth.
And we'll go to break and be right back. Thanks for tuning in.
For more information on Dr. Beth Claxton, visit BethClaxtonMD.com. And now, more Rooted in Healing with Dr. Beth Claxton.
Thanks for coming back. Thanks for joining us today for our interview with Dr. David Rosensweet. I hope that everybody learned a lot. It's right now a very controversial topic. For some people, you can tell for Dr. Rosensweet and I, it is not controversial. I know that I am doing a lot of good. I've had a lot of good done for me with these hormones. And I wanted to also plug that husbands and partners and domestic partners and wives notice what is happening in their partner, and they feel helpless. So if you're one of these people and you notice that your loved one at home is suffering, reach out to them and let them know what's available. Oftentimes, patients don't exactly notice when they're getting better, but it's their partner that is the one that comments, "Wow, I really see a difference," or "You're not snapping at me as much." Or someone actually said to his wife, I feel like you want me around now, which was so sweet. So this is for everyone, not just the people who need it, the wives who actually take the hormones, but for everyone that their lives touch, the children, the neighbors, the parents, the partners. It's for everyone. And I know that my treatment has helped me in my relationship and my job. Yeah, don't forget the coworkers either. And it touches everyone, and the benefits are outreaching like a spider web. So take care of yourself, and you're taking care of everyone. And if you have any questions, if you want to talk more about it, please reach out to me at BethClaxtonMD.com, BethClaxtonMD.com. You can register for a connection call, and I'm going to be offering some webinars to answer questions and look at hormones and health and stress and what's happening in our society and our medical system right now. Thanks again for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next week. We're going to talk to Deborah Meyer again, more gut health. You've been listening to KAZM, Mellow Mountain Radio, 106.5 FM and 780 AM. I'm Dr. Beth Claxton, and find that whatever it is that makes you feel happy and vibrant, and do it. That's going to make your life beautiful.
For more information on Dr. Beth Claxton, visit BethClaxtonMD.com.